I'm Helen Davis from One Step Forward, and I'm back for this fifth and final in this short series of lives about things that you can do to help yourself prepare for stress-free surgery. I've had a busy week this week, and I'm going to be really honest with you. I've only just got out of bed, and you might be able to see that. I'm never exactly polished, but today I am very far from polished. However, I decided that showing up, as I'd promised to do, was more important than my own vanity. So here I am, and I hope you'll bear with me while I talk you through the last of these tips and techniques. So we started at the beginning of the week with two things that you can absolutely do for yourself at any time when you start to feel stressed or anxious, and which can be used to prepare yourself for any kind of medical or dental procedure, and indeed be used during, if you're conscious throughout and not under anaesthetic, general anaesthetic. So those were, just to recap, slowing your breath, and we used that little phrase, I am breathing in, I am breathing out. I breathe in, I breathe out. So that was video number 2, if you'd like to revisit that. On video number 3, we talked about bringing saliva to the mouth. And both of these things are about hacking the nervous system so that it no longer believes it's under threat. Saliva to the mouth, that was the lemon. Remember that? If you didn't watch it, I really recommend watching that one. It's such a useful tip to know. And then yesterday, I talked about being able to turn down pain. So we're now moving into things that do take a lot more practice, that are much easier to do with the guidance of a hypnotherapist, but they're not impossible to do for yourself if you put in the work. And today's final tip is along those lines. Today I want to talk about speeding up time. So when I was lying there on the floor with 2 broken wrists, waiting for the ambulance to come, and it was a Sunday evening, the ambulance service operator had made it clear that it wasn't going to be a 10-minute wait. I knew there was one skill in my toolbox that was going to be really helpful, and that was the ability to speed up time. Bear with me here, I'm not talking Harry Potter and magic wands. Time is a perception. We all have had that experience, I'm sure, when time seems to slow down. In fact, it can happen in a situation like my fall, that moment when you realise you have lost your balance and you are going to hit the ground. Sometimes when that happens, it seems like everything slows down. People often talk about this happening if they have a car crash, that point when you can see all the vehicles coming together and there is nothing you can do. And similarly, I'm sure you've had the experience when you feel like time has passed really quickly, usually because you're very involved in doing something. So this ability for us to perceive the passage of time at a different speed is something that's inherent in us. And using hypnosis, we can harness the power of our imagination to do that. So you may remember I've already mentioned the fact that when we are in a state of near shock or shock, when we are in the moment in that way that happens when we've just had an accident, our subconscious mind is completely open. So we don't need to take ourselves into trance or take somebody into trance. We can simply work with the mind as it is, as it's open. So at the same time as all the other suggestions that I was making while I'm lying there on the floor, suggestions about keeping my breath steady, suggestions about bringing saliva to my mouth, suggestions about turning down the pain, the discomfort, being free from discomfort, my hands and wrists calm and comfortably numb. At the same time all of that's happening, I'm also giving myself the suggestion, every minute feels like 30 seconds, like every minute feels like 5 seconds. You can pick the length of time. I remember going through a process of thinking every minute feels like 1 second is going to be too unrealistic this time. Every minute feels like 5 seconds. Every minute feels like 5 seconds. There is absolutely nothing to stop you experimenting with this, playing with this, seeing if you can use this in a situation where you want things to speed up. The secret is to be absolutely focused on that intention. And that's why doing it in hypnosis is so helpful, or in a state that is similar to hypnosis, because you are focused on the messages you're being given, the suggestions you're being given. But play with it. I'd love to know if you manage to do it in another situation yourself. And I'm not talking about suddenly everything going into, fast forward movie speed as a conscious and aware thing. But I know by looking at my phone records that it took an hour and a half for that ambulance to arrive when I was lying on the floor. And whilst I can remember many individual moments during that time, and I was able to call in some support both through my phone, and when I realised I was going to be going away and my dog would need caring for, I also was able to call in on a friend to come and sit with me. But that period of time, in my head, it's not an hour and a half long. I don't know how long it took us to get to the hospital. It's usually about a half an hour's journey. But I was still using this process. I was still telling myself that every minute felt like five seconds. And I fell at 6:30 in the evening. And I finally, after being admitted, x-rays, having sedation to have my hands manipulated, my wrists manipulated back into shape, having casts put on, I eventually made it onto a ward at 1 a.m. And I can tell you that did not feel like hours and hours and hours stretching out. So that's my final tip, the ability to speed up time. It's a pretty good one, isn't it? And if you'd like to find out how you can turbocharge all of these things and an awful lot more to make sure that any medical or dental procedure that you've got coming up is as smooth as possible, and that you optimize your body's healing processes, because this is the point. When you make everything around it really smooth, really straightforward, and when you also at the same time, which I haven't even touched on in this week, you're also giving suggestions to your whole system that this is a healing process, that it's feeling better all the time, that it's already starting to heal. It makes an incredible difference to the experience of surgery and the speed of recovery. And if you'd like to find out more about this, then please drop me a note in the comments, reach out to me on a personal message, or book a one-to-one, completely no strings conversation, just to see whether it feels like something that would be helpful for you. And if you know anyone else who's got surgery or a dental procedure or something that's causing them anxiety coming up, why not tag them and get them to have a look at these videos and see if I could be of any help to them. Thank you for watching. I've really appreciated your support this week, whether it's been live or on replay. And I look forward to talking to you again very soon. Take care.